Good morning and welcome to Judging by the Cover, the gaming review show where I rate games that I have not played and I score them based on the store pages. Now, as this is the end of Dystopian Month for these reviews, I have decided to go ahead and get this video out a day early so that it can be up before the wave of protests and demonstrations happening across the United States today. For those of you who are going out, or if you're seeing this afterwards, have gone out, please be safe out there. Take care of yourselves and your fellow human beings. Watch each other's backs and get home safe to your families. We are in this together, and those of us who want a better world and not the world that we see portrayed in these kinds of games. While the settings can be fun to engage with on the screen, the larger implications of seeing facets of them playing out in real time should be a point of discussion and understanding, not the goal. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and look at Bethesda's Fallout 76. Released in April of 2020, the game is set 25 years after the nuclear end of the country. Now, my overall exposure to the Fallout series is a little limited, though not entirely barren. I have seen the first season of the Fallout series that Amazon had put out some time ago, and I've played a chunk of the first Fallout game before it was under Bethesda, plus some time spent enjoying Fallout Shelter on mobile. However, an MMO set in the immersive and incredibly crafted world of Fallout does seem like an interesting design choice, considering that MMOs can be very mechanically driven to optimize your gameplay and achieve things with other players in a way that can kind of detract from the immersion and the setting itself. Uh, Whereas the traditional series, while there are optimized character playstyles, you could instead lean towards some more thematic decisions that can make the game easier or harder for you. But then you're only relying on yourself and your own story and not having other players, you know, manage some of those decisions. But hey, that's what we're here to find out. So we're going to start off in part one of our review with the trailers. Our first trailer shows a handful of presumably player characters dressed up to look like a troop of scouts around a campfire. Already a strange take on the setting. It is an update trailer boasting a rebalance to public events with new challenges and rewards, which seem like an odd direction to put as your first trailer on Steam. It's kind of a shame, too, since we did get the opportunity to see a series of trailers last week that at least looked like they were put in a more cohesive order. Ultimately, it culminates in an encounter with Bigfoot attacking the camp before showing us the title of the segment, The Backwoods. Next up, we have the Burning Springs trailer starring the Ghoul in a Wild Western inspired setting. Clearly, a leaning on the Ghoul being one of the main characters from the Amazon series. It is complete with the guitar twang and the tone and scope of the Wild West setting. You got bounty hunting, creature wrangling, and an arena with a myriad of characters and targets to take on with a group. Now, since Steam insists on only putting up 2 trailers before interrupting them with screenshots, we do need to scroll by a bunch of them in order to get to the rest. Seeing a series of more update trailers, considering the game has been out for what, almost 6 years now, there are going to be a lot of updates for an online game like this. These are Camp Revamp, Gone Fission, Ghoul Within, Gleaming Depths, and Skyline Valley. Camp Revamp boasts base building, which I am aware was a major part of another recent Fallout game, but it does seem like a very weird choice to include in an MMO. Something like this could make sense in an instanced zone that limits the number of players in the zone at a time. But if this affects the main overworld, it seems like something that could quickly become cluttered. Where the building does seem easy enough to use and offers some nice aesthetics for the setting, but the way it blends with online multiplayer games seems out of place. Like it feels a little too Minecrafty, but even in Minecraft, you can control how many players are in the world building with you. And on top of that, having just a much more wide scope of a map to work with. Gone Fission looks like the kind of side content that should have little to nothing to do with the main parts of the game. But it does seem to add a little bit of a cozy game life sim to your Fallout experience. On the surface, it feels out of place from the other action centric previews we've gotten, but could serve as a reminder that the Fallout setting is more than just action and adventure. It is a world that people live in. And sometimes you do just want to relax. This could be, a nice little thing, just some way to cozy up to the river and chill with your friends, hanging out in that online setting. Honestly, I did not expect to come to this review and find a little piece of an irradiated Stardew Valley or Animal Crossing. And honestly, not entirely unwelcome. I could actually see a little bit getting into this vibe. Now, we did see ghoul player characters in other trailers, but apparently that racial selection seems to have also come from an update. At least if the Ghoul Within trailer is something that came out after the launch. I'm assuming it is. It is a brief showcase of what playing as a ghoul can be like, including its skill perks, needing disguises to blend in and interact with some NPC colony areas, and some of the effects of going feral if you don't take your chem packs. Next up, we have The Gleaming Depths. It follows a trio of adventures into a well, the only way I can really describe it in MMO terms would be a dungeon. It does seem that a scientist has messed with some radioactive shenanigans, and you are tasked with plunging into the dangerous underground laboratory to find out what happened and help yourself to whatever weapons, armor, and loot you can find. That is the impression I'm getting from the trailer, just kind of combining that with some of my experience having played some online games before. It's kind of a cool atmosphere, and it does kind of remind me of a little bit of that DLC that I looked at last week, where where in We Happy Few they had that spin-off content where you go into an underground lab and have like a whole little side story thing going on. And with this one, it definitely fits right into the setting of the Fallout universe. Now, Skyline Valley. This trailer goes lighter on the actual gameplay features and is presented as a kind of in universe fundraising telethon to push the game's first map expansion, and even goes further back to boast that the ghoul gameplay choices were on the way. Now, seeing the trailers in this order, I'm sure you can see why I think the trailers in Steam need to be reversed. We need to have base game trailers first so you can see the baseline on release of the game, and then expansion stuff after that so you can see the direction it went, instead of having things play out in that reverse timeline order. Finally, we get to what should be the original starting trailers of Fallout 76, starting with a cinematic bomb drop. This third to last trailer is genuinely an ideal presentation of the tone and theme of the game. While it does lack in the gameplay department, it is there to really create the atmosphere of the setting you're getting into. Getting us into the setting with the wildly appropriate music choice to draw us in to the West Virginia Appalachian setting. Our second to last is even another short musical trailer, which does not do nearly as good a job toward the setting, but does lean into some frankly hilarious imagery, like the machine gun Dorothy just spinning around in a field. So, bonus points for the memorable visuals and a showcase of the graphics and that part of the world. Maybe not even the graphics of the world, since this does seem to be more live action setting with these characters. But it is a nice little presentation that kind of leans into the fact that some of Fallout isn't just this total apocalypse of a world. There is some lighthearted comedy and pop reference to the world. Now, it the last trailer in this list is actually another expansion trailer. So, a free Wastelands expansion for Fallout 76 players does give us a little bit to go on here for the kind of direction they were trying to go early in their development cycle or early in their release cycle. But it's still an expansion trailer at the very end of everything here. The last two cinematic trailers were decent presentations, but were very light on the actual gameplay department when it comes to showing off the game itself. And then the last trailer does show more gameplay, but it's an expansion. It does touch on some story elements to that expansion, along with the treasure hunters coming to Appalachia and defending your home territory. But outside of that, we're not really given a lot to see, which has me wondering that they did a good job on setting the tone, but they did not show the base game gameplay and story until the expansion trailers. So that's kind of a little bit of a weird choice to see in their presentation and how they lay things out. Now, we do also have 17 screenshots, and they do show a nice assortment of locations, character designs, picked out from across everything we've seen so far. However, the screenshots do appear to mostly just be still frames from those trailers we saw, so it's really not giving us much of anything new to look at or make judgments on. The they are nicely rendered. I could see some of these making a neat wallpaper. Particularly, you got one here. He's got a fire hydrant on a stick standing in front of a vault that's a little faded because of, the balance and everything going on. Feral ghoul situation, the giant boss from that underground science laboratory, all that kind of stuff going on. So these first two couple of parts of the review, like usually part one is our videos, part two is our screenshots. We really didn't get much in the way of screenshots outside of things we've already seen. Now up is part three, the store description. Now we do have to scroll through some stuff to find it. We do have they do have a whole section for announcements and updates, which for an ongoing game like this, since it is that online game, I can see them making good use of that. They even had a recent maintenance announcement going on earlier this month. Invaders from Beyond was going on, extra firepower to help repel the Zayden invasion. So they have alien situations going on in here, which, okay, I could see aliens being maybe a hit or miss thing with Fallout. It is a far-flung future that, a little bit of near future and far-flung future throughout the Fallout franchise. So, you can make things up as you go along. Aliens can exist in this world. Nothing wrong with that. They do showcase the Backwoods and the Mojave bundle as a couple of these things here, just showcasing some of the recent update things. It tells us the revitalized events and activities with rebalanced enemies, richer rewards, and dangerous new 3-star uninvited guests looking to crash your party. So the uninvited guest, I think the uninvited guest was originally a part of one of those earlier updates. Maybe that Wasteland update where people are coming into Appalachia for looking for things. And they even load in, this is where they boast Bigfoot, earn rewards in the latest season. And again, this is something, if it's a seasonal gameplay kind of situation where you have limited time to get things, I feel like they're really pushing that FOMO for what could have just been an ongoing game. Even other games, other online games, I think World of Warcraft and even I used to play I've played Path of Exile, which Path of Exile has seasons to it, but you didn't really miss anything out. Things would be like culminating into the next season as far as any mechanics if you took a break from playing for a while. Perfect World was kind of like that too, where the game was completely self-contained, even though it was an MMO. You didn't have like seasonally missing out on things. The Mojave bundle is showcased here, which we'll get into this more when we get into the pricing of the game. You grab your NCR power armor and patrol the desert of Burning Springs with the Mojave bundle. So this is kind of leading me to believe that the Mojave bundle, consider because this is going to be a full price bundle at about $30, I think it was, 20 to 30 or 20 if you get it bundled with the base game. But even so, that's telling me that that expansion, the Burning Sands, wasn't even just an regular in-game expansion for players. It seems to be a bought DLC for the online game. And I know other MMOs have had that paid DLC thing where you'd have to buy the expansion for it. World of Warcraft had that going for a long time. I don't know if they still do that with their model, but I do remember there was the base game, Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King. All of those were like you would have to buy the expansion to get access to those areas and that content. Mojave Deluxe Edition. There's a deluxe edition that comes with the extra cosmetics and everything, in addition to the Burning Springs, all of that stuff. And then we finally get to the section that is about the base game. Fallout 76. Bethesda Game Studios, the award winning creators of Skyrim and Fallout 4, welcome you to Fallout 76. Their first sentence out here seems to be kind of trying to ride their coattails and give a little bit of a circle jerk on that one. The weird thing to lead now, I know you are a huge, renowned thing, but when you're trying to like shoehorn in Skyrim, which by this point in time is wow, Skyrim is actually an old. Some people would probably consider Skyrim a retro game at this point. Let's be honest. Welcome you to Fallout 76. 25 years after the bombs fell, you and your fellow vault dwellers, chosen from the nation's best and brightest, emerge into post nuclear America on Reclamation Day 2102. Right here, this seems like kind of an interesting point. So I know that in the Fallout lore, the bombs dropped and the United States was basically turned into a nuclear wasteland, and there was like some cultures and post-apocalypse like societies that popped up on the surface, but then there was also the people who went underground as a means of like preserving society to go ahead and reclaim the surface world after it became safer to inhabit again and the radiation subsided, which as it seems to be the case did not entirely pan out. It's still a little irradiated up there. Monsters and ghouls and mutants all over the place. Uh, and then I think some of the other games and the show settings had their reclamation day of reclaiming and re-civilizing. That's not a word, is it? Basically, bringing civilization back to the surface world was some of their goal, and they had seem to have like different timelines for when certain vaults would go and do that, or if the vaults were even meant to do that in the first place. Some of them seem to just kind of be content with having their base underground societies and try to seal off from the world. But this one, they had a Reclamation Day 2102. Play solo or join together as you explore, quest, build, and triumph against the wasteland's greatest threats. Explore a vast wasteland devastated by nuclear war in this open world multiplayer addition to the Fallout story. Experience the largest, most dynamic world ever created in the legendary Fallout universe. Now, that is a lot of promise to go ahead and heap up. Immersive quest lines and engaging characters. Uncover the secrets of West Virginia by playing through an immersive main quest starting from the moment you leave Vault 76. Befriend or betray new neighbors who have come to rebuild and experience Appalachia through the eyes of its residents. Which has me wondering, like, so engaging characters tells me NPCs, but some of this with new neighbors where you can befriend or betray them, that almost sounds more like they're talking about the other players. Seasons. Progress through each season and unlock free rewards like consumables, camp items, and more by completing limited time challenges. Again, that I know I mentioned the FOMO, the fear of missing out. If you skip a season or you get off the game for a couple years, like there's no telling how many things you can miss. So they seem to kind of want to try and push a continuous play cycle for this to make sure that you get take advantage of any limited time challenges and rewards that you get for playing in certain time periods. But at the same time, it is an MMO with continuous updates, which has me thinking that there's going to be constant rebalances and new content added. And a lot of times in MMOs, new content means higher tiers of armor and weapons to find, to loot, to grind for, that can make older gear kind of obsolete in the meta sense of the game. Which again, that kind of leads me to thinking that I don't know that I like Fallout conceptually as an MMO multiplayer game where that kind of meta is going to exist. Multiplayer role playing. Create your character with the special system. For anybody that's played Fallout games, I'm sure you're familiar with the special. It's like strength, personality, endurance. Basically, how they set their D&D esque stats on a scale of 1 to 10 for how skilled you are at certain things. And forge your own path and reputation in a new and untamed wasteland with hundreds of locations. Whether your journey. Whether you journey alone or with friends, a new and unique Fallout adventure awaits. I will say they do appear to be really leaning into the unique side, and I can see how there's going to be a lot of unique potential, especially when you're playing with other people. But again, it being an MMO with a bunch of randoms on screen, I don't know if it plays into the immersion. I almost feel like it would be better as instanced worlds, like if you load up the way you would like a Terraria or Minecraft or Stardew multiplayer game. That seems like it would have been a better choice for this. Mountain Splendorland. The story lives and breathes through the world of Fallout 76, which brings to life 6 distinct West Virginia regions, from the forests of Appalachia to the noxious crimson expanses of the Cranberry Bog. Each area offers its own risks and rewards. Okay, I mean, you do want your setting to have a varied environment to it so that you can not just see the same thing all over the place. New American Dream. Use the all new construction and assembly mobile platform, Camp, to build and craft anywhere in the world. Your camp will provide much needed shelter, supplies, and safety. You can even set up shop to trade goods with other survivors. Again, this is one of those things that's like cool in concept, but in a multiplayer world, like, would players just set up like a line of camps with each other? Because I haven't seen it in Fallout 76. Obviously, I don't own this. I haven't played Fallout 76 because this is judging by the cover. We are judging the game based on what we see in the store page. But I have seen at least one or two games before where I've seen players being able to set up like shop stalls in a public space in the online setting. But because players could do that, the area was just cluttered with like tens to hundreds of player shop stalls all crowded in an area, which could make it incredibly hard for one player to find a specific other person to trade with you specifically. You're basically just sitting there with your little camp stall or shop stall or how that is, if that is your intent here. Otherwise, if you just kind of have like a mobile crafting ability, it seems kind of weird to have that as a build utility and not just something you do in your game menu instead. Then Fallout Worlds. Play unique adventures in Appalachia with Fallout Worlds, which is an evolving set of features that give players the capability to play Fallout 76 in unique ways with customizable settings. That that seems a little vague, and the way they say an evolving set of features makes it sound like they had a concept but didn't have everything implemented they wanted at launch. It's kind of weird way to go about it. So anyway, that is the store description. Uh Next up is part 4 for our review, game analysis. Let's start with the graphics. The graphics do look genuinely breathtaking here for what is an online setting. Now, there are some things where I saw some enemies attacking and they didn't physically make contact, but then again, in MMO setting, there's going to be a little bit of that space and maybe rubber banding and space disparity. Uh, because in the online game space, you are going to have a little bit of that just because network communication can always be a little wonky. But as far as the character models and the environments, they do look beautifully crafted. Some of these scenes, I have absolute adoration for how it looks. At least the power armors look nice. It looks like you have a lot of customization options for different models and paint jobs for them. You got people putting on silly costumes, which kind of feeds into the fact that the Fallout has a history of a little bit of that comedic angle to it, along with its pop references and everything like that. So you got a lot of cool stuff with it going on. The enemies and mutants and monsters of the wasteland look a little terrifying, and the game might be a little bit on the gory side for what it could have been. It could have gone like maybe a little less gore, little less cartoon, but graphically the presentation of the game does at least look like it's put together well. Sound The sound design, at least from the trailers, does appear pretty competent. Now, some of their presentations are done in a more cinematic sense with live actors and everything, and their music accompaniment in those choices is thematically appropriate to their setting and their tone, considering that Fallout does have a blend of the serious and the comedic, like I've said before. The sound of the games, like the monsters, the music, and everything, it looks like it's doing its job. I don't know that it's necessarily the thing where I'm going to be like, yeah, go ahead and get me that soundtrack. I want to listen to that on repeat. I Doesn't necessarily give me that vibe, but it's not unpleasant to listen to. Gameplay. Now, the gameplay that we do see does appear to be very much like the modern Fallout games where, you're running around, you have your guns, your melee weapons, and it's done like that. So, as far as the gameplay goes, when I think of an MMO, I think World of Warcraft, Path of Exile, Diablo, maybe not Diablo specifically, because Diablo's multiplayer is more instance based, but it more like that kind of setting where you have your skills attached and you got your rotation. That's the kind of gameplay that I think of when I think MMOs. This one appears to instead be more like Fallout 3, New Vegas, and 4. Um, with the way that it's set up, but I'm wondering if their hit point scaling and like weapon scaling is more. It doesn't do much of a. We're not seeing the mechanics of the game so much as we're just seeing the gameplay. We do see some of the elements when it comes to character creation and character management, such as with the ghoul showcase, giving you different options with your skills and your biological needs as a ghoul to not go completely bonkers, and how that affects your NPC interactions as well. We do see camps in the situation. We see monster fights going on. The the construction, we do see the construction in process of gameplay, and it looks functional. It looks like it does its job pretty well. So overall, the gameplay looks all right. User interface and menus is where I have a little bit of contention here. We see very little of any actual menus happening in the game. There's a couple of snippets, like with the ghoul skill tree or skill perks going on, but they don't really show much in the way of your build menus or anything of that sort. Most of what we do see in the menus is a little bit of the Pip Boy character showcasing some selections and things like that with some of the things that we're going to see in our DLC. Now, the pricing. Good Lord, the pricing. Now, anybody out there who has looked at this before might already know this. The pricing is going to ruin this game. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. Let's go ahead and scroll on down. We have Fallout 76, $40. Okay, you know what? That seems like a fair price for the base game of what we're seeing. Now, there is Fallout 76 Mojave Deluxe Edition for $60. And from what I looked at, the Mojave expansion seems to be what gives you access to the Burning Sands. So it's a paid expansion for that one. And where did the Mojave came out January 2026. So that is very recent, apparently. Um, yeah, so basically, it seems like all of the previous updates were put in for free, but then this Burning Sands update and the Mojave Deluxe expansion, $30 full price for it, or $20 if you get it bundled with the base game. Meaning, if you bought the base game before and you just want to get that Mojave expansion, that means you're paying the extra $10 for it, even though you've already had the game for up to 6 years at this point. I don't know that I like that, especially given some of the other things we're going to see here. Buy atoms. This right here, I went and looked at what the heck the atoms is. So I need to go ahead and now on a spare screen over here, I have some of this other stuff that I was looking at, where we can pull up not only the atoms, but there's a subscription thing. So the atoms tells us you purchase atoms, and in-game currency you can use in the atomic shop to buy new outfits, weapon skins, armor skins, emotes, decor, and more. Guys, the trailer showed us that there is a lot of build options and decoration options to go ahead and pretty up something however you want. This is telling me that they are paywalling those decorations behind an in-game currency that you buy for 5, 10, 20, or $40 at a time in addition to this $40 game. $60 with the if you buy it with that expansion, when all the other expansion content seemed to be free. Now, this would be a little less egregious if the Burning Sands and Mojave was not a paid expansion, but just another thing they added on because they already have this microtransaction stuff going on in a full priced game as if this is some mobile game. And like it's a mobile game, in addition to that, there's also subscribe to Fallout First. So Fallout First is an additional situation going on here where it gives you access. It's a premium membership that enhances the Fallout 76 experience. Members receive access to private adventure and custom worlds. So if you want to play like in a private instanced version of the world, you're paying an extra subscription cost to play with your friends in that. Exclusive utility and cosmetic items, 1,650 atoms per month. So you're paying the $13 a month for roughly the similar amount of atoms that you would get if you were to spend a similar amount on buying the atoms directly, plus other bonuses. Members receive private adventure. You play in a private adventure exclusively for you and up to 7 friends. That's like now, like Minecraft, you can have a paid server so that your friends can get into your server world, whether you're playing or not. Or when you're playing in your world, friends can just come into your world, no extra cost whatsoever. Or in Path of Exile, where those things are, where you go into your run, and if you're in a party, people can come into your instanced run of that map with you. Those are some nice ways that I've seen those multiplayer things done, where you can play the game completely single player or have people join you on a good time. Similar with Diablo. Diablo allows you to party up with friends and you go into the maps together, but that is included in the game. With Fallout First, if you want to play specifically in an isolated world with your friends, you're paying that subscription cost on top of the $40 game, not having a separate free option to just play with your friends. Otherwise, you're in the world with however many other players are there. Custom worlds. Create your own Appalachia with custom worlds and invite your friends. Scrap. So that's the kind of thing that sounds like modding in Bethesda games is a long-standing tradition between both the Elder Scrolls and the Fallout games. And it seems like if you want those custom worlds that kind of like like mod adjacent kind of situation, you need this paid subscription for that. Scrap box, unlimited storage for crafting components in your own new scrap box container. That tells me that your crafting components have very limited storage. And you have to pay a subscription. And if you lapse on that subscription, do you lose the scrap box and then you lose your infinite storage and just lose that stuff? Like that's kind of the message I'm getting here, and I don't like it. Survival tent, a new placeable fast travel point with a stash, sleeping bag, and more for your basic needs. They're paywalling some things for like point of convenience and basic needs. The atoms, again, that you get the 1650 per month to use in the atomic shop, which again, they showcase and brag about the decorations you can put in your custom built cabins and homesteads. And then they tell you like, oh yeah, if you want that decorated stuff, you need to pay up more money on top of the base game. Ranger armor outfit, an iconic Fallout outfit exclusively for members, and an icons and emotes pack, unique icons and emotes available only to members. Now, those kinds of things, I know like there's what you call it, Fortnite. In order to get extra skins, costumes, emotes, dances, all that stuff, you do have to, you know, you earn some of the free ones if you play in the seasonal ladder or you buy whatever season pass or buy the in-game currency for it. But that is a free to play game with those transactions. You can be completely free to play and not really miss out on anything that gives a player any kind of advantage in the game. All of that stuff, it's the cosmetic stuff to dress yourself up however you like. This one, it's a full price $40 to $60 game. And on top of that, they're selling you the extra cosmetics here. Now, paid games with additionally paid cosmetics is not exactly a stranger in the world, but the fact that it is a monthly expense and not a, you get this DLC the one time through, it's very weird. You learn more about the benefits by visiting, and they don't even have the link on there. I guess Steam might have some kind of an issue with putting hyperlinks in the description that go off of Steam. Please note, access to benefits is only available for owners of Fallout 76 while your membership is active. So those perks like the infinite crafting item storage, that is limited to while your subscription is active. So if you want to take a break and put it away, who knows what's going to happen to your stuff after that if you cancel that subscription. I don't like that. For $13 a month or $100 for a year. Now, the $100 for a year is, yes, it's discounted from that 13 a month, but the $12.99 a month is like, that's a little on the expensive side for just this one game, considering that like that same kind of price is basically a whole streaming service to go and watch like, however many shows you want to watch. So if you're paying that kind of a price, it seems like that's going to be, you want to get the most out of this game. They're really gives that FOMO feeling. Years and years ago, I did play some World of Warcraft, and there was that $15 a month subscription fee and all that. And in order to play online with that game, and even then, in a modern setting like today, that feels like, yeah, why would you even want to have that kind of a model still? The fact that they're like giving you this game up front, but not even having that subscription fee for it, but a subscription just to have some basic perks like that, in addition to trying to sell me 4 or 5,000 atoms for more in-game purchases, like a mobile app for $40 on top of the $40 game. Whereas Path of Exile, yes, Path of Exile has the in-game currency where you can buy some things to help your player experience, but those for like their premium stash tabs and things are a one-time purchase, not a subscription. And on top of that, you're not paying the base price of a game for that. The base Path of Exile was a completely free-to-play game. You could go your entire time playing and not have that. Whereas if they wanted the microtransactions, they could have just kept this as a free game or as a much cheaper game because they're milking those microtransactions, or just get rid of those microtransactions and sell people a game. So the pricing for this is really where this is going to fall apart, considering that the subscription for a year cost more than the base game itself, which again, like I did play World of Warcraft when I was younger. I was also pretty dumb when I was younger. So my sense of value of my time and money was much less placed, considering the balance of me choosing to buy a game these days is based so much more on me thinking that I'm going to be able to find the time to put into it that it deserves. I can see potentially having fun with a group of friends in a game like Fallout 76. But with it being online the way it is, to where you're playing in public world challenges with less coordinated focus, I'm not as inclined to get in on that the way I would be with Terraria, Minecraft, Stardew Valley, even Pokemon multiplayer, where you can connect directly with other people as all part of the base game. Um, the fact that in order to have like a private world with your friends is an extra paywall, and having some of those other things is just completely moved off there. It's it's a very hard pill to swallow, especially taking into account that in order to play this with my friends like that would require both me and my friends to shell out the money for Fallout 76, as well as the subscription and whatever other DLC add-ons. If we want to play the Mojave expansion together with the Burning Sands, then we're all buying into that. And if we bought this, 3, 4, 5 years ago, then we're paying $30 for that for the Mojave bundle, as opposed to the 20 add-on if you get it bundled now. All of this taken into account, I have to give this game my personal score based on the information and store page a 2 out of 10. Now, this game loses a lot based solely on that pricing situation. The fact that you're priced out of having a nice private experience with friends, the fact that they are pushing 5, 10, 20, $40 microtransactions like a mobile game on top of it being a full priced game with paid DLC and paid cosmetics. That is the huge point of contention here. The fact that they want to try and sell me the the $60 for the full game. If I want that Burning Sand stuff, it feels like I'm going to have to put in the $60, which I don't even know if a game like this goes on sale frequently enough to, get a deal out of that. But then an extra $13 to get 1 month of perks, or $100 for a year. That's going to drive me to want to sink as much time into this game as possible just to feel like I got my money's worth, which is going to prevent me from wanting to go and enjoy other things. Which, when I played other MMOs, specifically ones that had paid subscriptions like the World of Warcraft, that's the kind of hook that I had with that game when I was younger. Was that it's like, look, if I'm paying that much per month, I want to make sure I get my money's worth out of it. Whereas with this one, the $100 for a year in addition to the $60, I cannot justify that price. The 2 points is purely out of respect for the looks, the setting, and it does look like a serviceably fun game to play, but it seems like the kind of game that really needs to have like not forced multiplayer. I could see this just being another Fallout game. The fact that it is an always online multiplayer with randoms, like you can make playing with randoms an option, but I feel like having single player as a default and then being able to invite other players into your world and into your setting the way you do with, like I said, the Minecraft, Terraria, Stardew, Pokemon, the way you can have those kinds of isolated friend experiences, that would have been a kind of thing. But you can also still have public online lobbies with randoms. It's just the fact that the world is that large public setting seems to detract from what could have been an otherwise great Fallout game with its own story and its own setting, as opposed to just having your seasonal, like, monster of the week or monster of the month world challenge in a public world lobby. It seems like the game has good ideas, but the way it's priced and the way that it's a forced multiplayer online with randoms, I just can't get entirely behind it. Now, the views that are expressed here, purely my own opinions. If anybody got their toes stepped on, I can't apologize for that because you all are entitled to your own opinions. If you have the time and the budget to go ahead and put into this and you enjoy it, by all means, enjoy the game. As far as my personal score for this, those are my tastes, my opinions. I could recommend this game to somebody who has the kind of disposable income and time and who loves the Fallout setting. Like, it looks like they really lean into what Fallout is as a setting, just with it feels like it lacks a little bit of that player unique experience that makes Fallout what it is. Unless the player base at large really kind of leans into making that the experience for other players, but that can be very hit or miss because people are inherently diverse. Um, I would I could easily see my score going up if those fucking microtransactions and subscription models weren't there. The just taking those away, even given my complaints about the always online multiplayer with randoms, like given that complaint, I can forgive that, even though I would prefer the isolated friend experience if they got rid of the mobile game style pricing in addition to the full price game. Like, either have your microtransactions or have a full priced game. Doing both just makes you look like you are trying to milk this for anybody that's willing to just open their wallets for you. Now, anybody else out there, if you've played this, let me know what you think of the game as a whole. Like I said, the game itself does look like a fun experience. I do wish there was a little more of a showcase for the menus and the item management, but we're shown only like some of the building and some of the combat. I would like to see a little more depth as far as the UI goes. But the game itself, it looks fun. It looks funny. It looks like they really lean into both the serious and the comedic sides of the setting. It's just kind of hard to get me sold in a way that has me thinking, yeah, I almost don't even want to buy it on sale because I don't know if a sale would bring the price down low enough for me to justify how much time I think I would spend on this game, which it would have to really draw me in and have a way for me to play with friends without being crowded into a huge online public world with everybody else, without having to pay all the extra fees. That's all there is.